Well, hello, and welcome to today's webcast entitled Reporting Requirements Made Easy with Data and Analytics Solutions. I'm Sean McSpaden. I serve as a Senior Fellow for the Center for Digital Government. I'm very excited to serve as the host for today's webcast. I want to thank you all for joining us. I think we're going to have a great session over the next hour. But before we dive into the content, I wanted to share a few housekeeping notes. We will email a recording of this presentation to all registrants within 48 hours of the close of the webinar. Please use this recording for your reference and feel free to share it or pass it along to any of your colleagues. We've designed the webcast to be interactive, so you can participate in Q&A with us by submitting your questions using the Q&A box on the presentation panel. I'd like you to send in your questions as they come up through the presentation, and we'll address as many of them as we can during the Q&A portion toward the end of the webinar. For those of you who are interested in downloading a copy of the slides, you can do so by clicking the Webinar Resources widget at the bottom of the console. Also, during today's webcast, you'll be able to connect with your peers via LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. For those of you on Twitter, please use hashtag GovTechLive to share key takeaways, quotes, and lessons learned from today's webcast. Finally, at the close of the webcast, we'll encourage you to complete a brief survey about the presentation. We'd love to hear what you think. If you're unable to stay with us for the entire webcast, but would like to complete the survey, simply click the survey widget at the bottom of the screen to launch the survey. Otherwise, it will automatically pop up as soon as the webcast concludes. Currently, we do recommend that you disable your pop-up blockers. And if you're experiencing any media player issues or have any technical problems, please visit our webcast help guide by clicking on the help button at the bottom of the console. Well, I'm very pleased to move to introductions. Joining me today to discuss this topic are Greg Bush, Jr., who serves as the president and CEO of KFA Incorporated, which is a management and information services consulting and services firm. Greg has more than 25 years experience managing large-scale information technology projects, and he holds a Master's of Science in Information Technology degree. Under Mr. Bush's leadership, KFA is proud to be the U.S. Department of Commerce Minority Business Development Agency's 2020 Minority Innovative Technology Firm of the Year award winner. Greg specializes in technology solutions for smart cities, capital construction programs, and facilities management. Over the last 20 years, Mr. Bush and his team have implemented technologies that manage a total of $86 billion in projects and assets. Finally, Greg thrives on being an information technologist and has a passion for the power of data, for project governance and controls. Next, I'd like to introduce Quintella Inti. Quintella serves as the Vice President of KFA Incorporated, and she's an award-winning diversity professional who has been pivotal in assisting KFA's CEO to transform KFA to a globally positioned business entity. Quintella's extensive 20 years of experience in supplier diversity, procurement, business development, community service, and bringing diverse organizations to the table with Fortune 500 companies has made her a very sought-after business executive and entrepreneurial advisor across the Chicagoland and national business ecosystem. And then lastly, I'd like to introduce, it's my great pleasure to introduce Sarah Giddens. Sarah is the Industry Director for Government and Commercial Construction Solutions at Kahua. She's a seasoned marketing and business strategy professional with over 10 years of experience in software and software as a service organizations. Over the course of her career, she's worked alongside many of the world's largest EPCs and owner-operated firms to understand their specific challenges and to guide them to operational excellence through digital transformation. Ms. Giddens holds an MBA from the University of North Alabama and an undergraduate degree in business management from Athens State University. Again, we have a distinguished panel here, and I'm just so glad to be able to be the moderator for today's session. Next, we're going to move to a quick poll question. We'd like to find out more about you all, our audience. So if you could please record your responses. We'd like to know what type of organization you represent. whether that's public sector state government, public sector local government, whether you represent a nonprofit organization or a private sector organization or some other type of organization. We know we have a large audience today, which we're greatly pleased about. Would like to know more about all of you. I'm going to pause and give just a few moments for all of you to record your responses. All right. With that, perhaps we can move to our responses. Great. So it looks like primarily our audience today is from local government, although we have a significant portion of our audience from state government as well. So public sector is very well represented today, and we're glad to have you with us. So let's move on to our next segment. Just a moment. So I'd like to set the stage for today's webinar and then move into a series of question and answer between myself and our presenters, our panel members today. So state and local governments are expected to deliver projects that adhere to regulatory compliance, diversity, equity and inclusion requirements, and other standards. New funding opportunities, such as those made possible by the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, funding opportunities, also require governments to meet different equity markers. Agencies need to streamline the tracking and reporting of performance metrics to take full advantage of future financing resources, particularly those from the federal government. That said, outdated in-house tactics, such as manually updated spreadsheets and multi-point solutions, they're just not labor efficient, and they increase the odds of errors. Modern tools like data and analytics software, conversely, can be used to help organizations track important project metrics and to generate comprehensive rundowns without draining valuable resources. Suffice it to say that having a detailed real-time summary of projects, it can help stakeholders be briefed and allow for more informed decision-making. During the remainder of our 60-minute webcast today, we'll hear insights from our distinguished panel as we explore what governments can do to meet reporting requirements more efficiently. Our panel of experts will cover the limitations of outdated in-house project reporting solutions, what tech is available to better manage project reporting requirements, and finally, how to leverage data to enable continuous project planning improvement. With that setting of the stage, I'd like to move to our panel members. And, just as a lead into our discussion, Greg, Quintella, and Sarah, can you take a couple minutes each to highlight some of the challenges and pain points that the organizations you and your teams work with are facing? Why don't we start with Greg?
Sure. Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me to participate in today's panel. What's really important to me is making sure that our clients and all the government agencies and private sector really are knowledgeable about the innovations that exist in the marketplace. I'm concerned that the RFPs may be written from the point of view of old solutions and old technologies and maybe older points of view. And until we can educate industry on the innovations and the efficiencies that are available in 2022 and beyond, these would never be asked for in the RFPs, in the other procurement mechanisms. So that's really important within my organization to make sure industry has the solutions that they need.
Thanks much for that, Greg. I appreciate your insights. Quintella, what are your thoughts?
Thank you as well for allowing me to participate. I believe a major pain point has been the delay with certifications. A lot of the requirements for many of our capital programs is diversity certifications, maybe the DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Certification, Minority Business Enterprise Certification, Women Business Enterprise Certification, and so on. Many of the capital programs have goals, diversity goals. However, there's a lot of paperwork for that. And once you put it, either you mail it or you might have to email it, or you go into a portal where the staff is short and it could take 30, 60 to 90 days for your application to be even processed. By that time, you miss opportunity. I think innovation is very important right now. That's a big pain point for a lot of agencies. And since COVID and the great resignation, it's worse. I did a renewal on a cert, and it's almost a year. And they said they've been behind since 2017. So I think they definitely need assistance, especially in our local government. I think the teams I work with, they're remarkable people, but they're just understaffed and they don't have the technology that they need to be efficient for this day and time.
Thank you, Quintella. And Sarah, from your perspective, would greatly be interested in your insights on this topic.
Sure. Well, as a solution provider, we see a wide range of challenges and problems that people have coming to us looking for the right solution for what they're facing. But as it relates to this topic, data and analytics, we see two major ones in particular. So the first one being challenges around having a tool that doesn't fit the way they do business, which can be a huge problem for your daily business operations. And as you all know, there are now many requirements in place of things that companies have to report on or have to have visibility into. So that can be a huge problem, if your tool can't support you in the right way. I'd say the second one that we see a lot of is around data ownership. We're seeing a lot of people realizing now that they may not own their data that is in their tools. So thankfully, with both of those issues, we've been able to help several companies overcome those. But those are definitely two big problems that we see in the industry today.
Well, that's fantastic information to kick off our panel today. I'd like to move to you, Quintella, for a few additional questions. So, you obviously have quite a bit of experience. You've worked with a lot of government agencies and vendors over time. In your view, why is the lack of scope for IT and project management information systems such a pain point for vendors seeking to participate on capital program competitive bid opportunities in the industry?
I think it's similar to what Greg alluded to. I think that our procurement officers don't know what to ask for. When a category manager or department is ready to buy something, most of the time they pick the popular brand. They may see an advertisement or hear from another organization that they're using a system. And similar to what Sarah said, it may not be a good fit. Every system isn't the best fit. And I think an education of the new technologies is needed for procurement officers so that when they are about to purchase large systems for organizations, that it would be a good fit. I will not name a name, but 2 weeks ago, I was at the National Minority Supplier Development Council in New Orleans, and a company renowned just purchased a system from one big corporation, and their team is frustrated because it does not fit the work that they do. And you hear this all the time, that, and I think it's just a lack of education. And hopefully, webinars like this will make our agencies more informed and to seek the type of training to know what's out there. Because I think if they knew of the solutions that would answer their issues and pain points, they would seek these new technologies for sure.
Great insights. Really appreciate, again, your knowledge from working with these folks, both on the public sector side and with private sector vendors. You mentioned, Quintella, I'd like to stay with you for a little bit. You mentioned in your lead-in certification renewal. And so, in your mind, what are some of the challenges related to certification requirements for bid application renewal? And, what process improvements do you believe are needed?
Well, I think with First, with the regular applications, like the DBE, for instance, usually if you're certified in your home state, normally because there's, an interstate application, you should have 3 documents along with your affidavit for renewal. And that would be your last year tax form, and also maybe if you have a required license, it'll be a few documents. But some states have they can make the discretion of making you bring over 20 or more, just a lot of more information when you're trying to do an interstate application, which is frustrating for business because many times if you are seeking a new certification in a different state, you want to streamline that if you're already certified in your home state because you're trying to win a bid. And many of these bids in different states, they need you to be certified there. So that's a process to start all over. In regards to renewal, we've been we've been in business over almost 30 years. And many of the agencies know me. We renew every year. And it's amazing to me, even if I'm early, 3 months early, sometimes I still don't get my cert right away. Sometimes the latest I've got at one time is 6 months, even though I moved, I applied much earlier than the 90-day cutoff. And I've listened to panelists on a national stage and local people just complain because you miss opportunities. If there's a local RFP and it requires a woman-owned business or minority-owned business or DBE requirement, if you're waiting for a renewal or a certification, you can miss the opportunity. And some of the opportunities that we're talking about, it's 5 years, these contracts, 10 years, it's a lot of money that's left on the table. What I do appreciate about the state of Illinois, they have an expedited fast track. They definitely do their due diligence, but they really believe in if you have a contract number, and they know that you could possibly lose, the opportunity, they will expedite it. They'll do everything they can to help you. And I think a lot of the agencies should think that way, that if small businesses are our engine throughout the United States to grow our economy, it'll be great to make vetted firms that have been around for renewing, if you know us already, or if there's a fast track opportunity to still do their due diligence, because you want to make sure you got the right information from businesses, they should have a new just tool in place to help them. I think they need more technology for sure.
Fantastic. So let's shift gears and talk a bit about the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Certainly the IIJA includes a lot of money, a lot of federal funding down through the states to local governments. But, in particular, it includes tremendous opportunity for diverse businesses of all kinds, small businesses, women-owned and veteran-owned businesses. In your mind, Quintella, what do vendors need to know prior to applying for these government opportunities? And, also some of the tech issues that they may face with legacy processes and systems, certainly those of the public sector.
I think what's incredible about this bill, and I'm really excited about it because 2020 was hard for our whole world and for businesses especially. There is something in this bill for everyone, not only the trades, but professional services. So that excites me. And for all the vendors, even small white male firms from the SBA and USDA, everyone, if they connect to their agencies like the USDA, the SBA, Women Business Development Centers, their local minority supplier development agencies, and NMSDCs, there is assistance, free assistance to help you get the certifications you need. There's workshops, and now they're more virtual than ever. And I think it's important for people to be connected to their local agencies because they are, to me, and this is just my experience, they're wonderful. When people complain about government, I think the business space is very special because you're dealing with entrepreneurs. And I think the people in the office really do care. I think sometimes they're just overwhelmed They don't have enough tech to help them and innovative tools, and they're short staffed. And so I would say because of that, businesses building a great relationship, showing up at different vendor events such as this one or ones face-to-face. Relationships are important. Learning how to register, that's going to be big. I would tell small businesses now, register at your local agencies for these diverse certifications and small business certifications, because without them, you can't even participate. You can't even be considered unless you're going after these opportunities as a prime contractor. Other than that, if you're going to be a subcontractor, it gives you great opportunity because there's money there for you to participate. I know some people may not like the acronyms, but that is how business has been set up in our country. And I think you're leaving money on the table when you don't have a portfolio of how you do business. And the certifications are just one way. You don't have to always go that route, but there's a lot of money if you do apply through that route. So please connect to your local agencies for assistance and get registered now, because the process can take 30 to 90 days for you to get through certification and be ready for that next opportunity.
Very good, very good. The final question I had for you, Quintella, in this first segment, you've touched on certainly the economic crises that all of us have gone through in 2020 with the pandemic, but there certainly have been others in our past, and then also times of economic opportunity. What lessons learned can you share from the time your time working with government agencies and vendors? Perhaps just one or two that you think are most important.
I think the certifications with the government agencies are the most important. After 9/11, after the 2008 downturn, and then also with COVID, the two groups that were procuring most was government and also corporations. And all of them require some type of certifications, of vetting of you, that you can really provide the service that you have. And I've even helped people during the pandemic who had life-saving PPE get their certifications fast-tracked so that we can save lives in our state. And so my mom often said, it's better to have it and don't need it than to need it and don't have it. And I feel that way about certifications because our government usually comes to the table and corporations to bail our country out in crisis. I've seen that historically. And the people who do have those certifications usually are the people we need to help us with solutions. And so that would be what I think would be the best, few morsels of wisdom to our vendors is to please get certified. I think it's really important.
Thank you, Quintella. It's a great kickoff to this segment of the webinar. I want to shift to you, Sarah. I'm very glad you're here speaking on behalf of Kahua. From your perspective, and we touched on this in the lead-in, but would like you to drill down a bit. What are some of the biggest challenges facing the industry?
Sure. So as Quintella mentioned, the IIJA is a huge opportunity. This is a historical moment with where we are at, but how organizations can manage the influx of that funding. She touched on the fact that there's opportunities for everyone, and that is so true. But how do you even begin to navigate what that requires to manage that money when you're awarded it? So that is definitely something that needs more attention and needs to be discussed more. Also, too, just as she touched on before, also the economic and political uncertainties that we're in off the heels of COVID, going into an uncertain time, perhaps an economic downturn, but then also kind of the influx of the IIJ funding, like we mentioned too. So it's a very unique time right now when we don't really know what's going to happen from a political or economic landscape. But the fact that there is potentially a lot of funding out there, So that's two very different scenarios that people are going to have to try to navigate. And then I think the third point here is the increasing pressure for fast and accurate reporting, whether that's from your project stakeholders, your boss, the company owner, or the public. And we see a lot of that in these government projects is public reporting and the need for transparency on how these government dollars are being spent.
I appreciate that, Sarah. And certainly you led into my next question. Your company, Kahua's solution, data analytics and reporting. In your mind, what makes Kahua's solution so uniquely qualified to support government construction projects, and in particular in the data analytics space and in the reporting space?
So when you're looking at tools, you think about things, is there cost management, is there document management, all of that. That's fine and great. That's kind of at a base level. Kahua takes it up a notch, and we have a suite built just for government projects. And a few of those key capabilities that we have assigned to that area are managing multiple sources of funds. So as I mentioned, with the need for fast, accurate, transparent reporting, you need to be able to see where all of the different colors of money are coming from and where they're going, how they're being used. You need to track that throughout the whole process, and we do that. We also have a minority participation tracking app. I think it was Quintella that mentioned earlier. There's a requirement for that type of thing, that you're involving these XBE companies, whether it's a minority or a veteran or a woman or disabled organization, that you have a certain amount of involvement in them. So that's something that we have a special application designed for. We also have robust reporting so that you can view whether it's at the project level or rolling up into a program level. You can see it either way. You can break it down to the level that you need to or roll it up to the big picture. And then finally, last but not least, Kahua is FedRAMP authorized and available on the GSA schedule, which means we are a secure tool and we're going to be easy to buy.
I appreciate that. Would love to delve a little bit more into your minority participation tracking app. Can you tell us a bit more about that, exactly what it means, and maybe a bit more about why it's important? I mean, you mentioned for federal funding purposes, but perhaps there are some other aspects that you'd like to share.
Sure. Well, it's critically important that organizations are meeting that threshold and involving all types of organizations in these projects. So what our minority participation tracking app can help do is validate vendors, track vendor transactions. It can even notify when the diversity thresholds are not being met so that can be addressed right away. And it also helps reporting easily out to agencies on the current status of participation on projects.
Thank you for that, Sarah. Really appreciate your insights and learning more about the unique capabilities of the solutions that you're offering. Greg, why don't we segue to you? Now that government agencies have been informed about the importance of data and collecting data analytics and reporting, not only in their own lanes, but also through our previous speakers. Can you describe from your perspective some practical use cases for the utilization of that data?
Sure. So first of all, government agencies nor any other type of business entity cannot measure what you don't record. So really what's important for infrastructure or any other departmentalized line of business within the agency is to be able to collect data over a period of time, getting to the point where you have historical data so that you can learn lessons from projects completed to which contractors and consultants perform the best, what materials work well. This is discovered via not only doing your warranty tracking and inspections, but this is discovered via recording that data of when installed, what is the warranty period, notifications, bells and whistles on dashboards telling me when it's time to do the inspection. And then once we have historical data, we now can use technology, use reporting, even get into artificial intelligence, so the computer can derive the budget for the next project. The computer can tell you what consultants, what contractors work the best, who always submits too many change orders, who asks RFI questions where the answer was already in the drawings and specs. This technology, systems like Kahua, can be used not only for delivering the jobs in the infrastructure bill, but KFA has applied such technologies within the internal workings, within departments of agencies. What we're ultimately talking about is project governance and controls via collecting data, managing due dates, due times, ball and court responsibility, and who does not conform to the project governance and controls. Ultimately giving us ultimate lessons learned about our organization and our external stakeholders.
Greg, that's a great segue to my next question. You know, we hear a lot about data-driven organizations, data-driven decision-making. You know, maybe you can talk a bit about some additional benefits for, you know, the emerging data-centric organization.
Well, yes, ultimately we're talking business efficiencies and effectiveness for getting things done in this world where the baby boomers are retiring. We're coming out of the pandemic. Quinn had a phrase she used. It was the great, was it retirement or a lot of people,
resignation, the great resignation.
The great resignations that happened during the pandemic. A lot of people moved to different careers, so on and so forth. One example of how we can utilize data-centric systems like a project management information system is to not only document what we do via the user manuals and the processes and procedures that we have to make sure everyone follows, but we can prove that we do it. At KFA, we assisted and participated on teams that helped the Chicago Transit Authority and the Illinois Tollway, also known as the Illinois State Toll Highway Authority. We helped them achieve their ISO registration, and that is the International Organization of Standards, actually. And during the process of achieving ISO registration, the stakeholders within your organization have to document how all work has to be performed. So let's just use construction management as an example. So construction managers have not only their field inspections, but they're tracking non-conformance reports. Perhaps they're managing RFIs. Maybe they have a lane closure process or a permitting process. What we want to do in a data-centric system is automate the delivery of these ISO registered processes via workflows. When we do this, every digital form in a workflow is collecting data. We call this metadata. Now, this metadata could be 3 data elements, 3 pieces of information. Every step of the workflow could collect 20 pieces of information. What we're doing is collecting not only the historical information, but we're assuring that every one of our projects in a multi-million-dollar capital program is being delivered the same way and conforming to the ISO certified process. We highly recommend, even if not ISO certified, every government agency documents how you design, how you do constructability studies, feasibility studies, how you procure, in how you build. The Illinois Tollway, we've implemented well over 100 processes. Many of these are ISO certified. Ultimately, we collect all the data that I described, we can get lessons learned from, but ultimately we're helping you maintain your ISO certification real world scenario. So when the UL auditor, UL Laboratories auditor, for example, comes in to recertify you, this is not a week-long exercise. This is a one-day exercise because now we can generate reports, we have logs, we have audit trail, all provided via PMIS systems where the auditor can look at your document, the ISO certified process, or your internal policies and procedures, and then look at the PMIS, perform a quick search, and the proof is in the pudding. This is not a week-long discovery process. This is a 10-second search of the data, and you pass that ISO recertification with flying colors. The auditors love this, but what we do by making sure every team is delivering the project the same exact way is we definitely derive efficiencies, we eliminate errors, reduce claims, change management, and everything else that we and the government agencies as project owners should be highly concerned about. That's all project governance and controls, and it also reduces risks. When we work with data, one version of the truth in one central repository of data, not a version of the data on the architect's desk, the owner's desk, the contractor's desk, the inspector's desk. Everyone has a different version of the log or the drawing. We want to eliminate that. These are all real-world scenarios from utilizing systems like Kahua.
Greg, I really appreciate that comprehensive view of the importance of data for documenting, quality operations, efficient, effective operations, et cetera. But there are certainly other incentives that drive behavior, drive the adoption of these kinds of automated solutions. So, in your mind, how does the data reporting itself assist government agencies in receiving funding?
That's a good question. I have one, again, real world scenario where in Illinois, we have the RTA, and the RTA is over our service boards, which includes the Chicago Transit Authority, Metra, which is our region's commuter rail system, and PACE is our suburban bus system. Now, every X number of years, these service boards have to report to the RTA their assets, what are their assets, the quantity of assets, and the condition of every asset. KFA, using, again, a data-centric system, roughly 10, 12 years ago, developed the first database for RTA that, from a standardized point of view, collected the information from the service boards. Once the data is collected, every service board from the standardized methodology can report to the RTA the condition of their assets, quantities of assets. So this is everything from the fare collection systems to signals on the rail system, to bus stops, to the roof of a warehouse, and any other asset owned by the service board. We collect in the database that asset, its condition, so people have to go out into the field, collect those conditions, and then it's reportable. So as I said, earlier, you can't report what you don't track. Now, as I look into the future, I envision we're going to be using drones. We're doing that today, using drones and other intelligent data communications and computer technologies where people don't have to go in the field, which is safety is always priority number one. So we're also now collecting using drones, we record the video. Technologies can extract data from videos and push systematically and programmatically that data into Kahua via APIs and other import technologies. There's a lot of benefits in practical use cases of data-centric solutions, automating collecting data, and then reporting it via PMIS solutions.
Well, Greg, Quintella, and Sarah, just again, really appreciate your insights, your lessons learned, and use cases you've shared from your experience working with your clients over time. I want to segue to the next portion of our webcast, which will be our Q&A with our audience. So audience members, please begin submitting any questions you might have for our panel members. But first, I want to ask our next poll question, again, trying to get a bit more information from our audience about the state of your project tracking and reporting capabilities within your organization. So the question is, how would you describe your organization's project tracking and reporting capabilities? Would you deem them mature with formal systems and processes in use, emerging, where you have largely manual processes, but you're perhaps ad hoc, but you're moving to some formal systems and processes. They're in development or in use. And then ad hoc, simply kind of an episodic, tracking of project performance or other. So we've got those four choices. If you could record your responses, I'll give you a few seconds, and then we'll see where everybody lies. All right, why don't we move to our responses? So not surprising, certainly having robust, mature, repeatable processes, formal systems in place. It's a heavy lift for a lot of public organizations out there, but certainly I think the vast majority of our audience is in the middle with some formal systems and processes in development or use, moving beyond the use of spreadsheets, perhaps some automation. So, certainly for our panel members, that gives you some context as we move to our Q&A portion of the webcast. So I'd like to perhaps start with you, Sarah, as we have questions from our audience rolling in. Making sure project data is secure, it's a huge deal. You talked about the Kahua solution being FedRAMP certified. Certainly, you've got an eye on security and privacy of information that's contained within the system. So from a technology standpoint, what can project teams do to help ensure their information is safe?
So when looking for tools in your evaluation process, I would say look for two key things as it pertains to security. One, obviously, being a FedRAMP authorized tool. For those of us that don't know about a FedRAMP or what that is, it is an extremely rigorous process which allows solutions to deliver a secure and standardized approach in their security assessment, user authorization, and continuous monitoring. So that is key. That's a great place to start. The second thing is I would look for a tool that is SOC 2 certified as well. It involves a complete evaluation of the design and operational efficiencies of security controls across areas as they relate to customer data. The pairing of those two certifications is what will allow a tool to be the highest level of security that a company would want. That's where I would start.
All right. Thank you for that. And we did receive a couple of good questions from our audience members. I want to pose them, first to Greg, but Quintella, you and Sarah, please feel free to chime in. So the question is, what are some of the most important features government owners need to have in their project management information systems?
Feature number one is very flexible, role-based security. So everyone doesn't log in to the system, the central repository of data and reporting, with the same privileges. We want to be able to, from the very fine detail, determine what subcontractors and general contractors can do, can see, can edit, can revise, versus every other role on the project or within your organization. So the view, the point of view when you log into a system won't be the same for the project owner and the project manager and internal stakeholders as compared to your external engineers, consultants, and contractors. That's most important rule number one. Number two, and there's a lot of them, and I'm trying to get to the higher levels, but you want to make sure that as you manage your budget and costs in the system, and remember we're talking about datalytics and analytics solutions, you want to be able to roll up into your capital program or your major project, or you want to be able to drill down into the fine detail of what's happening on one project. So if the 10th project in your roll down had $1 million budget and you're over budget, you want to be able to understand why. You want to be able to drill in further on that project and find the change management, the invoices, the contractor pay apps, or even the potential change orders or RFIs that created that overrun. So very robust funding, source management, accounting, I'll just say generically accounting code management, and then roll up by that information. With that and the role-based security, I think these are, thirdly, I'm just add a third really quick. Flexibility on workflow design. You never want to be pigeonholed into your business conforming to how the software works. You want the software to conform to how your government agency works. As you look for a PMIS solution, I would hope that the winning vendor doesn't say, oh, we did it like this at these other 5 agencies. We've customized our app just to work that way, and now you have to do it like Illinois does it. No, you want a system that provides complete flexibility of process design, whether it be 3 steps or 30 steps, and every part of that process should be able to go forwards, backwards, void, collect data, print a report, and let you provide or discover other lessons from the routing of information. So those are my top 3 important features so you can get the data and reports that you require to run your projects.
And
Greg, we really appreciate it. Go ahead.
Oh, no,
Go
you
ahead,
can finish.
Gonzalez.
Okay. I wanted to add as well, all tech isn't the right tech for your project. And I think I would love for the procurement officers to be educated when they're buying this, and a department head or someone come and say, hey, I want this system. Every IT company is not an expert in these systems, and they're pretty expensive. And often we've been called to fix what someone's broken because we are experts in this space. And so you definitely want to be aware of systems like Kahua that know how to manage PMIS, systems and implement them. And oftentimes there are salespeople who will sell an organization a system, then they leave. And the organization doesn't know what to do with it. And they're frustrated with a great system, but they don't have the right team to implement the system. So it's important if you're going to make an investment in a program, project management information system that you're going to have for years and you're going to put a lot of money into, that you have experts implementing the system, because we have often seen unforeseen issues happen. And because our team are experts in this type of technology, they can offer APIs or innovative solutions to solve a client's problem. If someone only knows the book on how to do it and was trained basic, if something comes up that's spontaneous and out the blue, they wouldn't know how to solve your problem. So you want experts, expert systems, but also experts implementing these systems.
I think that's just a great segue from both of you to a question I posed to Sarah. Of course, Quintella was talking a bit about making sure you're using the right technology solutions, certainly for projects or for your ongoing project management, tracking and reporting needs. So, from your perspective, Kahua's perspective, where should someone even start in the process?
Well, Greg mentioned this before. You need a tool that fits to you, not the other way around. The tool has to work for you. So we would say, take a look at your current needs and your current processes. Does that match up? Can the solution meet your business today? Then as you move forward in the evaluation process, think about where your business might be in the future. We've seen it even recently. All of our organizations are adapting, they're changing, we're having to change processes, we have new regulations coming down. How will that impact your business? You may not even know right now. So you may want to make sure that you have a tool that is flexible and it's agile. It's something that can grow with you in the way that you need to grow, not the other way around, like we mentioned. Also, like we talked about before, is it a secure tool? That is not going away. It's only getting worse. There's going to be more and more focus on it as we go forward. So that's really important to make sure that you're using something that is secure. Also, from our previous poll question, it looked like we had several people who were just doing reporting ad hoc. That tells me that they may not even have a PMIS system in place. So if they don't have one in place today, another good place to start is on the Kahua website under the resources tab at the top. We actually have a needs assessment, which is kind of like a buyer's guide. It's called, Is It Time to Modernize Your Construction Capital Program? And that kind of walks you through all of the things that you should look for that you may have a deficit in your processes. It's pretty product agnostic, I'm going to be honest, but we just want to be an advisor to you. So we're going to help you find what you need. And if you have any other questions, please reach out to us. We're happy to have a conversation with you. Even if Kahua is not the right tool for you, conversation can't hurt.
Thank you for that, Sarah. Quintella, I'd like to switch back to you and talk a bit about reporting tools. So, you talked about the certification process. So how would better reporting tools help certification process teams streamline that certification process and avoid the dreaded, loss of contract opportunity, due to incomplete paperwork or delays caused by, the use of some of these legacy platforms that are in place?
I think automation and technology help you with efficiency. So if you do have a slim, staff, if you have just a small staff, technology could, if it's a great tool, it can help you still be more efficient. And I think that's what's missing. Some organizations require wet signatures still, and you have to mail it to their agency, and it's all paper. And I'm excited to see that people are on their way based on the poll that they are adopting some type of technology. But as Sarah and Greg said, it needs to be the right kind. So I really hope that these agencies look at that. If they're short staffed, which a lot of them are, they're really behind. Many of the states are, because I renew for us throughout the United States. I would highly encourage them to purchase a tool that's efficient, especially if they have a small staff, because I think that's just what's missing right now. And Greg, I see your hand up.
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Greg.
I'm just passionate about every topic that we're discussing today. Data and analytics solutions. We have to eliminate paper on so many different levels. I mean, the world has already proven that digital and electronic signatures, which are two different things, are acceptable in their work and they can be bulletproof. Any agency concerned about ink on a piece of paper, if it's really that serious of a concern, investigate blockchain or some other technology that's bulletproof, infallible. I could ask anyone on the street to put some blue ink on a piece of paper if Quinn can't get to me to sign something, and then she mails it. There's no security to that. These data-centric solutions can take the 90-day diversity certification process to 9 days, to 90 minutes. Data moves at the speed of the internet, the speed of light, literally. We are all in the bottleneck of the speed of human beings and people willing to do their work in a timely manner. Now we have this data-centric system that collects the data today. I'm still a black man next year. I can, via the connection with the federal government, link my taxes to your system if it's designed right. A click of a button should recertify me. And the passion I have about this is, yes, we've not been able to compete or participate in an RFP response because some state agency, and Quinn is being nice when she says 30, 60, 90 days. These are 6-month processes. And it's a dang old shame that in 2022, we're still dealing with it. Kahua, being a project management information system, really marketed towards construction and facilities maintenance, facility management, and real estate, still collects data elements that could be used to certify anyone. It's a workflow system. We're talking about workflow. We're talking the status of data, and is that data outdated? I jokingly said I'm still a black man next year, but what's outdated? My net worth. That's what the Department of Transportation is concerned about. If you need to see my net worth has now been, it changed or went up, whatever the case, connect to the federal government. I can click a button and give you permission to get my tax return electronically, or through blockchain, I can get it in the system, whatever the case. Blockchain is the extreme end, but we do have multi-factor authentication and other ways of certifying that is me logging in. That piece of paper that I mailed is not the way to go. I'll get off of my...
Okay, and I want to add to what he said. In one,
just very briefly, Quintella, okay. we just have a minute or two left, okay. So I want to leave some time for you to get okay. your recap for our audience in. So
okay, no problem.
So if that works for you, I'd like to segue to that, and we could keep going for another half an hour or more for sure. And this just is an exciting conversation, but want to leave time for each of you. Sarah, why don't we start with you? Maybe 30 seconds. 30 to 45 seconds. What's one thing you want to leave our audience with before we close?
I would like the audience to just remember that they have options. That, as we talked about before, there are tools out there. You may not even know everything about what they do. You don't know that you're missing something until you see it. So just explore. And if you haven't checked out Kahua, come on over and talk to us.
Thank you. And I'm going to move back to you, Quintella. Sorry for that interruption, but what's a final nugget or lessons learned you'd like to share with our audience, or just a recap before we close?
For project management information systems, I'm hoping procurement officers will be educated on the new tools, such as the ones that Kahua offer. Also, in regards to certification registration with your local government, vendors, please, I would love for vendors and the agencies who are here to just reach out to your local vendors to make sure they understand the opportunity of the infrastructure bill. It will really help our economy in this country.
Thank you, Quintella. And Greg, final word, 30 seconds.
Data is only as good as its source. We don't want 5, 10 people entering the same data. We want a workflow-centric system to collect the data from every stakeholder of the data, contributing to the whole of the data that we can now report on and get our processes and procedures automated in the system to give us project governance and controls. When we use the word educated or education, our ask as a minority-owned small firm is that these RFPs include what we do, because the majority of the time, a good number of time, they don't.
Thank you for that. Thank you for all three of you. Really appreciate it. I want to be respectful of our time commitment, so we will have to wrap it up here. Again, we could have another webinar with the three of you. I've learned a lot from each of you. I want to thank you, Greg, you, Quintella, and Sarah, for sharing your collective insights on today's webcast. I'd also very much like to thank Kahua for making it possible for us to have this important webcast discussion today. And finally, I want to thank our audience for spending time with us. We do look forward to seeing you again at another government technology event sometime in the near future. I want to wish you all a great rest of the day. Thank you, the three of you. Really appreciate you presenting today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Bye.